Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi everyone, welcome to Mother Knows Death. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about another mukbang death, an update on the little boy who died as a result of the hyperbaric oxygen chamber explosion, an embalmer who took justice into her own hands, crazy story, a lawsuit involving the dangers of Girl Scout cookies, and we'll also talk about the dangers of hair extensions if you're getting an MRI.
All right, let's start off with the story of this 24-year-old TikToker. He was famous for doing mukbang content. He's died due to obesity-related issues. So do you want to talk about that some more?
I'm curious why, with all of the restrictions on social media for certain things, like trying to educate people about medicine and stuff, that they just allow this. Why do they allow this?
Well, they don't care.
But they do care. They act like they care all the time. They're not allowing. Remember, we had a couple months ago a story about the one woman who was an influencer who was anorexic. Her name was Eugenia Cooney. Remember that she had a TikTok account and they were blocking it, and all these people were signing these things that she shouldn't be able to show this on social media because it was so dangerous to show people eating disorders. Well, this to me is a form of an eating disorder as well, and people are basically looking at this guy abuse himself. It's very unusual.
Yeah, but I don't think people see it as an eating disorder, which is why.
Why? What are you talking about?
Listen, I'm not saying I agree with that. I very much see it that way too, but I really don't think the general public sees it like that.
They're watching this guy who's obese feed his face and like get off on it. It's so weird.
I don't know. I mean, this trend's been pretty popular. I don't think the trend started off as, this thing where these people were doing it to make themselves sick. I think the word literally translates to like eating broadcast. So I think it started off as this way where people would be on a channel and they could be talking while eating food and reviewing it, not just like stuffing their face with as much as possible until they got sick. But it's kind of just evolved into that, and that's all we see from the trend anymore.
Yeah, I just think it's totally bizarre. But anyway, he's 24 years old. I don't even know. I mean, like, just by looking at him, he's probably at least 500 pounds, if not more. So I don't know what his BMI was and what his obesity level was. Obesity related issues. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened, but he's 24 years old, and it's just so sad that he was doing that to his body for attention, and now he's dead. It's gross.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the reason he was obese was because of doing these. I think they kind of went hand in hand, but he was hospitalized for the last 3 months. They were saying due to bruising and breathing difficulties. Why would you be in the hospital due to bruising?
Well, the thing is that when you have liver damage if you have a fatty liver, and fatty liver could turn into cirrhosis at some point, it can affect your clotting factors. So I could assume that that's what it's from, that he was actually having liver failure and that was just a result of it, because when your clotting factors aren't working correctly, you could just bang against the table very lightly and get bruises all over the place from minimal trauma. So that could be something to do with it. You wouldn't necessarily just be hospitalized because of the bruises, but the breathing difficulty is just from all of the extra weight and how it pushes your diaphragm up into your chest like that. I mean, I did an autopsy once on someone that was this obese, and their rib cage was totally deformed. Their organs were pushed up so far into their chest cavity. You were just like, how the hell did this person's lungs even expand? That it's just so crazy. So, I mean, whatever. People deal with obesity all the time. I just think that it's just kind of gross in this situation, especially because the guy's so young and he was getting more and more followers from this behavior, which just didn't help.
No, it definitely doesn't help. I think the Turkish government is trying to use this case as an example of how dangerous these videos can be, and trying to urge at least their population to not engage in them, especially teenagers, because that's most of the people that are using TikTok. Young people in their teens, their early 20s. So I think people really do need to look at these and see that it's not harmless and can be really dangerous to your body.
We have an update on a story that we brought to you back in February of this year. You want to tell them about it, Ray?
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, we reported on the death of a 5-year-old boy in Michigan. He died as a result of a hyperbaric chamber explosion at this place called the Oxford Center. So now this investigation has come out showing there was all these problems with routine maintenance checks and just people not doing their jobs. No medical doctor or safety supervisor was present during the treatment. They weren't doing the daily maintenance check. They weren't doing this other thing that the manufacturer suggested called a pre-dive safety check. They weren't doing yearly inspections. So now 4 people have been arrested in this case in connection to the boy's death.
I'm not surprised, honestly. Like these centers that exist, and there's all sorts of centers that are around that are not, they're not FDA approved, or they don't really have to do with medical treatment. You have to be skeptical if they're really following the rules here. Apparently, this place was having these hyperbaric chambers, and they were pushing it to treat things off label that you would typically do with hyperbaric oxygen chambers. So, for example, if you have a wound that doesn't heal very quickly, you could go in one of these chambers, and that will help because there's more oxygen in these chambers, and that's supposed to help increase the likelihood that your wound's going to heal better. And it does. Like, that's a scientifically proven thing. But these centers are having these chambers for people for reasons that are not FDA approved or considered approved for use for these chambers, including autism and depression and things like that. So this mom was taking her boy there, a 5-year-old boy there. I believe he was having autism or something. He was having issues with that. And the mom, I mean, parents get desperate and they're like, we want to see if this will help, whatever. And it's to this place. There's no doctor work in there. They're just sticking him in this thing that has 100% oxygen, which is 3 times more oxygen that's in the air. They never really said exactly what happened. Like the fire and police never said what happened, but the thing blew up and the kid was pronounced dead on the scene. The mom was there the whole time. And if the kid was pronounced dead on the scene, I can't even imagine like what could have happened, up into including like amputations and horrible things that mother saw. Because for them to pronounce somebody dead at a scene and not bring them to the hospital, even if their heart had just stopped or anything, means that the kid was probably very obviously dead looking. And that is the most disturbing part of this story. I'm glad that there's charges being brought. I definitely hope there's lawsuits and everything. This company's still trying to be like, we did everything we could. Like, fuck you. I really think that you just need to go away at this point.
I mean, the investigation showed they did not do everything they could. They weren't even doing the basic checks.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's totally irresponsible. And what's scarier for consumers is that they walk in and they have no idea that they like a regular person just has no idea what they're walking into. And it's so scary.
No, not at all. So let's go over some of the arrests in this case, most notably the CEO and founder of the Oxford Center. Her name's Tammy Peterson. She's been charged with second-degree murder, been issued a $2 million bond. Then we have the center's safety director and the primary management assistant. They've also been charged with second-degree murder with $250,000 bonds. And then lastly, the operator of the chamber has been charged with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of intentionally placing false information on a medical record as a medical provider. So clearly they thought all these people were definitely responsible for it. I am interested with the second-degree murder charge because I would also have thought they would have been slapped with involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, I don't know about any of, how people pick charges or whatever. I'm actually really happy to hear this because so many times you hear about stuff that's considered in the realm of malpractice, even though this isn't really medical technically because these people weren't medical professionals. But so many times you hear about stuff like this happening and people suing and stuff, but they get away with it a little bit. And I hope that they're really trying to set an example for this place because it's really just so sad for this mom.
Well, they had a scandal back in 2021 where they had hired this woman they knew that had a criminal record and that had faked having a medical license. But I guess the owner and the CEO, this Tammy woman, was trying to play it off as she was Christian and knew about it, but was trying to give this woman redemption. But listen to what she did. So this lady, Casey Diskin, who they had hired, she posed as a board-certified behavioral analyst and stole another woman's medical credentials, including her certification number and MPI number, and then she totally fabricated her license number.
Yeah,
That's like a major crime in my
no, it really is, and we've heard about that. We've even reported on that a couple times on this show about people making these fake medical licenses. It's so scary.
So that woman ended up creating these therapy programs with the Oxford Center with the children with autism. And of course, when the parents found all of this out, it's extremely problematic that somebody would go to such great lengths to fake having all these credentials.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, if you're putting in all the effort to fake having the credentials, just earn them the right way. Why aren't you just doing it? You're
This
clearly
could be said
smart.
about every criminal that ever existed. Like, if you just put that effort into your life, you would be successful at something besides being a criminal. Like,
Yeah, but I do agree with you. I think in a lot of cases like this, we don't often see justice for the families, and I think the severe charges are warranted. If you're knowingly not doing the inspections you're supposed to be doing, and somebody has lost their life as a result of that, you deserve to get in trouble.
all right, so this next story is going into yet another story of the dangers of social media. It's like we have at least one an episode, so let's get into this one.
This one is so weird. So, this 16-year-old girl from Florida met this 35-year-old man on a dating app. I don't even know how a 16-year-old is getting access onto a dating app.
What? Now, what? It didn't say what dating app. I'm just curious.
It didn't say which one, but
yeah,
and
because I
haven't-
thought it was saying social media app too. So I'm like, what? I mean, I
No,
guess they could be.
So it's a dating app, but they did not say which one. And I have not been on a dating app in a decade, so I don't know the credentials anymore. But you used to have to connect it to Facebook. Obviously, with Tinder anyway, you used to have to connect it to Facebook to prove you're a real person. I don't know how it's working anymore, but I feel like you have to upload your license or something to prove you're real and you're of age, no?
I doubt it.
So she gets linked up with this guy. She ends up going to his house and then is held captive there by this man and his girlfriend. Her grandmother did not report her missing for 10 days after this. What was going on with that? She was also the mother of an 11-month-old baby. Nobody in her family was like, where is she?
I have no idea. Like, this is just. We talked about this on a couple episodes when you're like, there's certain way. We were talking about with Casey Anthony last episode, right? Or 2 episodes ago, that we were just saying, if your grandchild is missing for this amount of time, why would you wait a month to call and this and that? And maybe it was common for this woman, this 16-year-old, to disappear for a couple days at a time, and nobody really thought anything of it. And maybe the grandmother was it her grandmother or her mother?
So both of her parents are dead. So she was living with her grandma, but she was the mother of an 11-month-old baby.
So was her grandmom raising the baby?
I would assume so if they were all living in the house together, but I'm like, nobody realized she wasn't there for 10 days or got in contact with her for that amount of time?
I don't know. So what happened? So she went over, and was she having like a relationship with this guy and his girlfriend, or?
It seems like they lured her over to the house, and then what the police are saying is that they thought she stole a ring, so they then started beating her for 7 days before finally they put a pool ball into her mouth and then wrapped her head in plastic wrap, and she ended up suffocating to death. So then they take her body to this other property where they dismember her, and then they dumped her in a dumpster.
Wow. And did they find her body yet?
They did.
Okay.
So they found her body. She was reported missing. I guess she goes to their house on Valentine's Day. She's reported missing 10 days later on February 24th, and then they found her body on March 7th. So it took a while, but very disturbing.
You know what upsets me about this story? Like, thinking about having all of you that are listening have ever had a teenager or have a teenager in your life right now. Like, thinking about a 16-year-old that her life wasn't that important to her caregiver, that she was even reported to be gone for 10 days. Like, a 16-year-old is a child. It's a little kid.
Yeah.
And there's not a person that every day is waking that child up to go to school, and every night tucking that child into bed and giving them money for things and packing them lunches. And it's just like there's always these other gross things to the story that make it so much more upsetting.
Yeah, definitely. Because you just want to think on the surface, like, both of her parents are dead. I don't know how long they were gone, but she's already in this unconventional situation of being raised by her grandmother. She is the mother of an 11-month-old baby, so clearly she went through that as a young person. And then just nobody is even keeping tabs on her whereabouts for
Yeah.
that long.
I
It's
mean,
sad.
it doesn't seem like it would matter anyway because this was going to happen, right? Maybe because if she was being held captive for all those days and it was reported that she was missing and they might have found her alive tied up over there, like it didn't have to end this way, but how are they going to get caught if nobody even knows she's gone?
Exactly. So both of the people, the guy and his girlfriend, have been charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping. Did you also see in the article that before they got the charges with kidnapping and murder, that he had been arrested for drug possession and pointing a harpoon at his
Yes.
girlfriend?
Yes.
Like, who just has a harpoon accessible to
He's like
them
a
like
real
that?
quality character.
Yeah, real quality guy.
All right,
All right.
so this is probably the most outrageous story that we've had like all week at least, right?
Yeah, just in the last day or so.
No, this is like pretty outrageous.
So, this Texas embalmer has been charged after she allegedly took her scalpel blade and cut off the penis of a dead man after finding out he was a registered sex offender.
So this lady was preparing this guy to go into cremation, okay? And she found out he was a sex offender. He's a 58-year-old guy. She cuts off his penis in front of an embalming student and sticks it in his mouth before she puts him to get cremated. Okay? And tells the student, you didn't see anything.
Okay, like, you can't expect that the student is not gonna. I'm assuming the students who reported her, correct?
I'm sure. But listen, like sometimes you always like if you're especially your mentor. I've been a mentor and I've been a student. Like sometimes you see people do stuff and you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I do that way. But then like this it is like, and I'm like a Karen tell on person at all, but like I don't know. This is like a little beyond the point of like something's not right here with this person. Like let me just maybe I should mention this to somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to my friends about this last night too, and I'm like, in some regard, I think everybody could agree he deserved it in some way, but like you also just can't be doing that. You can't take. It's like Luigi, like you just can't take the law in your hands.
No,
It
and you
was a
just
weird move.
there's also it's weird too because I worked with dead people all the time and I just never would personally connect myself at all to them to get mad if I found out I was doing an autopsy on a sex offender I'd be I don't care, that's not it has nothing to do with me. It's just like there's like a distinct line between like that's my work and this is my life here and like I don't cross the two over. The only way that I could almost even justify it is if somehow she found out that he was the guy that sexually assaulted her if she was a child.
Yeah.
Then I could see her just like completely snapping and feeling that that was going to make her heal in that. And at that point, I would kind of be like, all right, I still don't really think it's right, but I understand why she did it. But just finding out that the guy's a pedophile and you don't have any connection with it is just it's super weird to me. And like if you're being in charge of taking care of dead people like that, you can't do stuff like that. It's just it's like the prosecutor that was in that is charging her with all of this is saying that the law requires that he be treated with dignity and death. Like you can't just use your past experiences and do that. And the fact that she did it in front of someone is almost like she wanted somebody to see her do it.
Well, it kind of begs the question, what else has she done? Because
Yeah.
I feel like
I,
this is kind of.
I would believe that she probably hasn't done anything because I think that she did it because she had an audience there and she wanted to act like she was kind of a badass.
Yeah,
And
and
like
she.
and thinking like nobody would get mad at me for this and somebody's going to praise me for this and like really the guy like I don't care what you think, like the guy's dead, you didn't do nothing to him, he doesn't feel it, he's not getting upset. None of the victims, I mean maybe now that if the guy's name's getting released some of the victims who are still alive are probably happy that this happened maybe, but the guy's dead. He doesn't like. I don't know. It's just a little unusual.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying is that I think when you hear this story, you're like, okay, I could see how you'd want to like disgrace somebody in their final. Well, it's not even his final moments. Like I was just about to say, he's already dead. I understand how you'd want to disgrace a person, but like you're just taking it a little too far. And now like you're in your early 30s, you lost your job, you're charged with felony abuse of a corpse. Like this really isn't a good look for you. You're
No,
maybe
and
going to
they're
jail.
saying that they're trying to either suspend or revoke her license, and I'm kind of like, no, I think the point of like we're done here with
Yeah,
this career. Like
exactly.
you need another career. Something is like honestly, if you're that pent up about something, maybe you should go work in the field of sexual assault and help victims or something. But like this isn't help. It's not doing anything.
I just don't understand how you think you're doing this and not getting in trouble. But
Yeah.
I understand, like, maybe she wouldn't have done it if she didn't have the audience there and she was just trying to show off. But definitely questionable decision making. And you don't really want somebody like that working around people. Well, I guess they're not alive people, but you don't want somebody like that in this position. It was weird.
You know, I lied. This story is weird too.
All right, so in Tennessee, this guy was sleeping in bed with his girlfriend. So I guess they had a loaded gun on their bed somewhere.
Really intelligent, by the way.
I was trying to think, like, of all possible scenarios. Sometimes people say they sleep with a loaded gun under their pillow. I don't think that's wise either, but people say that. And then I was thinking, could it have been on the nightstand? But I think by what they're saying,
No, it was on the
next,
bed.
yeah, it's on the bed. So their 1-year-old dog jumps up on the bed. His paw gets stuck in the trigger guard, and then he ends up setting the gun off and shooting the guy.
You know, this is a 1-year-old pit bull, and pit bulls always get a really bad name. His name's Oreo. And now they're getting even more of a bad name because he shot his owner. The dog shot his owner.
This is one case with the pit bull we're going to talk about where it really was. I guess none of them are the dog's fault, but the dog was really set up for failure in this case. He was just being cute, jumping on the bed. I don't know why the owners had a loaded gun anywhere in proximity of the dog and just on the bed. I mean, couldn't this have happened if they kicked it and it went off? I don't know.
Yeah, and so I guess it shot the guy in his left thigh, and he was treated at the hospital and left. It could have went terribly wrong if it hit his femoral artery or something, or even worse, depending on what angle the gun was laying in the bed. This is kind of just stupid behavior on these people's part. I mean, even if there wasn't a dog here, but apparently this has happened a couple times before. And 2 years ago, a German Shepherd killed a man after it stepped on a hunting rifle.
Yeah, but again, yeah, like the gun shouldn't be in position for the dog to step on it, but I could see it, like, maybe if somebody's cleaning their gun or something, or whatever, they have it on the ground or they have it on the table, the dog steps on it. Why is a loaded gun in your bed just while you're sleeping? It's very bizarre.
I don't even know if it was. I mean, if it's loaded, I guess it's not just loaded though. Like it wasn't locked. Like it was in a position that it was ready. It seemed like it was in a position ready. It was in the chamber, like ready to go.
Yeah, like
It just
loaded,
wasn't
no
loaded.
safety,
Yeah,
nothing. It just
yeah.
I really can't wrap my mind around how this went down because it's so irresponsible.
It is weird. And I guess, I mean, nothing's going to happen. I feel like still though the police should just be like, dude, like, is someone coming to kill you? Like, why do you need to keep this thing like ready to go, like right here? I don't know. It's just weird.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, we have a lot of good stuff going on in the gross room. We have Gene Hackman's Celebrity Death Dissection, which is really, really good. It took me a really long time to write that one, honestly, because it's just a very unusual cause of death, and I wasn't super familiar with it, except learning about it in school once or twice, and that's it, because literally like 10 people die a year from it. So out of the millions of people who live here. So it's kind of crazy that that was his wife's cause of death, the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. So we get into that. We're talking about this Ruby Frank. Is it Frank? Is that how you pronounce her name?
It's technically Frankie, but
nobody says that.
Nobody says it correctly, but
All right, well,
it is
it's
technically Frankie. But
Ruby Frank. I think the Frankie makes her sound like a little bit less, a little innocent than she is. But she's a disgusting child abuser. I'm sure you guys have seen that the Netflix series is going on. So we like to, in the Gross Room, keep on top of what's going on in pop culture currently. So we're talking about that, and we have a lot of other cool cases that we've been sharing.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com for more info and to sign up.
All right, so have you been seeing all of these videos that are circulating online about Girl Scout cookies? Because I've gotten at least 20 inbox messages of people sharing these videos with me.
I actually have not seen any because my entire Instagram feed right now is people making marshmallows and those videos that are like, he didn't ask you to be his egg for Easter.
God, the algorithm is so freaking annoying.
I don't know how I started getting those particular ones, but they're so funny. They're just so funny to me and they're just ridiculous. But anyway, what's in the video?
Yeah, I mean, this hasn't come up on my feed, but people have been sending it to me, and it's just saying that I guess some group of people ordered Girl Scout cookies from all different states and had some testing done on them, and it found that every single one of the cookies had traces of aluminum, arsenic, like heavy metals, mercury, pesticides, which we know cause human pathology and disease. So, of course, that's concerning considering everybody buys Girl Scout cookies, I guess, except us, because their gluten-free ones suck and the other ones that are actually good we can't eat. So, whatever. That's just a side note. But yeah, so a lot of people are freaked out about this because, you know, there's a lot of chemicals in all of our food that we're finding out aren't safe for us to be ingesting at any level, let alone what they consider to be safe levels. So all these videos have been going around. This woman has filed a lawsuit against the Girl Scouts for what?
$5 million, which I don't think is that much considering the shocking number presented in this article, which was that they make about $1 billion a year off of the cookies.
Yeah, I don't like the whole I did the whole Girl Scout thing for a while, and it just like I don't know that I was necessarily, I like the idea of it, and it probably started off as a good idea, but the way that it is now, it was like our troops sold so many cookies, and then one of the moms that was in our group just like sold a bunch of cookies and kept the money. I think out of a $5 box, your troop gets like 75 cents of it. So basically, every single box out of all the kids in the troop that we sold, like we didn't get any credit for it because that mom took all that money. She never got arrested.
Didn't she give like a fake identity and everything when
yeah,
she signed up and then just stole
Yeah,
all the
like
money?
we couldn't figure out who she. It was just like it was crazy. The whole thing was so crazy. But I was kind of turned off by it, and I'm like, oh, so we're just going to tell all these little girls that like somebody could come steal this money, and then they're not getting anything for all their hard work of selling these cookies, and like the person's not even getting in trouble. Whatever. That's like a whole side note.
Well,
but
nobody get any ideas for this tale,
right. So I guess I don't know if these people that bought the cookies, because like you and I we could, and like it would be an interesting study to just go to the store and buy like Chips Ahoy and all these other cookies and send them to a private company and have them tested, because I'm sure it's not just Girl Scout cookies. It's like every single thing that we eat, probably, that's a processed food, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're, and I'm saying like, unless you make the cookies from scratch, and even if you do, you would still find these things in the flours you use and all this stuff. So it's really hard to say. These people that are making this lawsuit are comparing the findings that they're finding in the Girl Scout cookies with the EPA's water safety standards. And I guess the levels are higher than what the water safety standards are. But the FDA, who's in charge of the food, and the USDA, they have, I guess, a different threshold of what's considered to be non-harmful. So they're putting out a statement that says, quote, based on current FDA regulations, there's no evidence that the cookies pose a health risk, which to me is a cover your ass, because you're saying, well, you're not that confident. You're just saying that based on the current recommendations. So when we find out in 20 years that the recommendations right now are terrible, then like they'll be bad. But as of like what they're considering to be safe right now, the FDA is saying that they fall within those limits. So
well, the FDA at one time said Oxycontin was a non-addictive drug. So let's think about it.
Like we could go on and on and on about the FDA and everything else. So And that's constantly changing. That happens with science when things change and evolve and we learn things or whatever. So, um, if I think it's good for parents to have this information, because if you choose that you don't want to have it, I guess the scary thing is that when you read the label, like all that shit's not written in it, right? So parents don't know until they get tested. And like, the Girl Scouts use a couple different bakeries, so that's why sometimes they have different names, or they don't have a cookie in one part of the country and another part of the country. But this is like a world or a countrywide thing. And I'm pretty sure that some of those companies listed that make Girl Scout cookies also make other cookies that are sold in the grocery store. So
Yeah,
this
definitely.
isn't specific. This is more of like, I don't know if this is necessarily a Girl Scouts problem as much as it is an FDA problem of what they're allowing.
Well, I agree with you. I'd argue that if you tested almost any processed food made at any facility, you're going to find something.
Yeah.
It's impossible to not, even when everything's marketed as organic and whatever. Just if anybody had the time and resources to test every single food product we have, I guarantee you things like this would come up regularly.
It really would. So, I mean, I don't know. Do whatever you want with the information. It's crazy because, like you said, you didn't see any of these videos circulating online, and they probably, like, this is a horrible PR crisis for the Girl Scouts, because
Well,
like the
now
only thing they got is the cookies. Really.
and they're good. Like before our gluten-free days, I'd fuck up a box of Thin Mints in one sitting. They're the most delicious cookie on the planet, especially when you put them in the freezer. Oh my god. Absolute
I
heaven.
could probably make them.
Well,
Actually.
you should.
And
No,
the
you should.
Samoas. Okay, so you got an MRI recently. Did they ask you if you had hair extensions when you went?
They did. So they did not. It was not on the list, but let me tell you, when I was 5 minutes into the test, that I realized I had a necklace on. And
They didn't see that you had a necklace on?
no. So
Wow. I mean, it's right there. That I know which necklace you're talking about. It's like on your neck. It's not like hanging down. Like anybody talking to your face would see it.
okay, so like I will take responsibility 100% that I left it on, because I've had this necklace I think for 3 years, and I don't take it off often. I don't even feel it's there. So when I go in for the MRI, I fill out the questionnaire, which is asking me if I have a pacemaker and like breast implants, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, I take my piercing out, I make sure my wedding ring's off, everything. When I got to the facility, they asked me all the same questions again. I answered them, and then I'm 5 minutes in, and I'm sitting there, because like you can't do anything. So I'm like in my thoughts, and like, oh shit, my necklace is on. So I squeezed the little ball, and I'm
my
like,
God.
my necklace is and they're like, is it bothering you? And I said no. And they're like, well, you're fine.
Then they were like, then stop bothering us.
Yeah, basically.
So, all right. So this girl, I have the opposite experience. I haven't had an MRI on myself in a long time, but Lucia gets them for her medical condition pretty often, every couple of months. And when we go, we go to Children's Hospital, and they're like, I have to say that Children's Hospital is just so, in Philadelphia, is just so awesome and extra thorough on everything. Every single time my husband and I are there, we're like, why can't these people be our doctors too? Like, why don't adults get this kind of individual awesome attention to details and everything? But when my daughter Lucia gets an MRI, they ask us the craziest questions of things like, do you have any piercings? Do you have any piercings inside your mouth or genitals? Like things that kids wouldn't have ever. Do you have tattoos? Do you have this? Do you have hair extensions? They ask so many things because there's all these different things that people can have metal on their body and they just don't even realize it. And it could be a problem because an MRI it uses a giant magnet, right? So this girl she's getting an MRI and she's laying there, and then all of a sudden she feels like her hair is like ripping away from her head, and she never even thought about it, but she did the same thing you did, like hit the little buzzer and just said, there's something wrong with my hair extensions. It's like pulling my hair. And it was the same reaction. The MRI tech was like, is it bothering you? And she said, like, can you deal with it for another 20 minutes or whatever? And I don't really necessarily know if that reaction's appropriate, because it's same with you with the metal, because in theory, like the metal could heat up and it could actually burn your skin. So even if it's not bothering you right now, I don't know if there's a threshold that, okay, if it doesn't burn someone right away, it's not going to for the rest of the test or whatever.
Can they not just pull you out? You know how they'll be like, okay, this one's like 2 minutes, and they'll be like, the next one's 3 minutes. Can they not pull you out in between and take it off and then put
They
you
might
back
not
in?
be able to interrupt the series. I have no idea what those people do at their job. And
All right, with
I
me
have no
though,
idea.
I was only past the first one, like the 2-minute one. So I'm like, can't we just start it over again?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't
mean,
know.
like, obviously they would if a person was having a serious issue, because at that point the test doesn't matter as much as like you being on fire or like being sucked into an MRI machine. But
at the same time, I don't think when I was feeling like I was having a reaction at the contrast that they were taking that quite seriously either. So I don't know what's going on in
because
these
they know
places.
your type. Your hypochondriac, freaking out medical anxiety type walks through their door 20 times a day, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Like,
I wasn't trying
listen,
to be dramatic
when a
about
person
it.
gets contrast and is having anaphylaxis, it looks a certain way. It does,
I didn't
and
think
it,
I was having anaphylaxis.
but then
I was
who cares? Just if you weren't gonna die, then you'll get over it. Listen, end of story.
All right, side note, can they not make these tests quieter? Because like with all the technology we have today, it's like you're already claustrophobic in this thing, and then you have this loud noise and these lights like flashing at your head. How are you not going to have a panic attack in this situation?
You know, I have like a weird thing, I don't know what it's called, that I get like very triggered by noises that are a little bit too loud or something, and that is definitely at a level that's uncomfortable for me to hear, and it gives me like this anxious feeling. I don't know, and then they have like these upright ones now, but I'm sure they make the same amount of noise. It is kind of funny though that you're just like, dude, you could put a computer in my pocket right now and I could call people across the world, but you can't make this thing be quieter. It's just weird.
Or like you can't like put music on or something.
No, you
like,
can't. Oh no, dude, listen. Let me tell you about the Children's Hospital experience. This kid gets earphones, and it's connected to a TV that has Disney Plus, and she got to watch Cruella the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like high level. And before they had all that technology, they had this big ass binder in the waiting room that the kids could pick a DVD of a movie they wanted to watch. I'm telling you, like the kids get like the red carpet treatment. It's awesome.
I don't need a show, but like an elevator music would be good. Like anything.
Maybe
audio
you could
bit
still, like,
perhaps?
you could maybe fall into being a kid. There's an age. I think you're over that age now, but
Yeah, I'm 30 years old. I don't think I'm falling into the kid category, but
just lie. Just like change your date of birth on the thing. All right, so
That-
like let's talk about what happened with this girl. Anyway, so she's got hair extensions, and there's all different kinds. So sometimes you could have a bunch of little hairs that are stuck to a really sticky sticker, and that's extensions. But these particular ones they were like a metal bead that was clipping onto the hair, and then that metal bead had a piece of plastic over the metal bead. So the girl didn't realize that there was metal, because when she looks at it, it looks like a piece of plastic. She thought they were plastic. And a lot of people are ripping her online, and honestly, like, if she didn't know that they were metal, then why would she even think about it? This is why Children's Hospital is so good, because they ask you things that you wouldn't even think of, you know? So I think, I don't think that she's totally wrong for just not knowing that. It's just not clear cut for some people.
No, but the funny part of the TikTok was like you could see that they were ripping off, so her hair looks kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it was probably like really uncomfortable. Like it freaking hurts if you get your hair pulled.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I don't know. I think this is something, again, like they maybe need to add some more specific questions on there because, you know, a lot more people are getting hair extensions than ever before. And it's just something like my necklace, I would not even think about something like that. But let's get on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram account, we have a story up so you guys could ask us whatever questions you want. What causes tonsil stones? This person says they have pretty good dental hygiene, but they get them sometimes.
Oh God, I have a kid that one of my kids gets them so bad. So your tonsils are like, they're filter organs in the back of your throat. So they're kind of your first line of defense when you're swallowing or breathing in things. So they're supposed to catch bacteria that you might swallow in or any kind of debris that shouldn't be going down your throat. And that is a really good thing to have. But of course, with certain people, it just catches too much debris, and then it could cause the debris like forms a stone, like it gets rock hard. You could get them like in your belly button.
Ew.
You could get stones in your belly button. It's just like a concentration of a bunch of stuff that just like rock hard together, right? So, my daughter, and I don't know what your particular situation is. I'm talking to the listener that asked this question, but I'll tell you what I've thought of with my daughter anyway. She doesn't have them all the time, and when she does have them, I notice that it's during, like, she'll start getting them again soon because this is the time of year where all of the pollen starts coming out, and she starts getting this crazy postnasal drip, and all morning and all night I hear her like sucking up, and I could hear it in her throat. And she's on all these different, listen, we've been to every ear, nose, and throat allergy doctor, whatever. She's on like whatever we can give her, except Singular, because I'm never giving her that freaking drug again, trust me. But aside from that, it just kind of never really goes away. And I think that mucus going on the back of her throat all the time is just like getting trapped in her tonsils like that. It's just, that's what's happening, because like the past couple months she hasn't had any problems with them. And let me tell you guys a funny, I probably have told this story before, but one time this kid had to get an x-ray on her hip because she had a really sore hip, and we just got her an x-ray because of my other daughter has all of these problems with her bones. So we're like, let's just make sure she's all right. And they said, okay, her hip's okay, but she has a foreign body inside of her intestines. And I'm thinking like, okay, this kid's 12 years old, like, or almost 12 years old. What the hell? What foreign body could she eat? And I was going nuts trying to think about like, what could this be? Like, did she have like a necklace in her mouth? Did she swallow a bead? Because it just looked like a small little bead. And CRISPR, who I did an external exam with Christy Salapata. She is a PA. She does the same job as me, but she is a pediatric PA. And her very first question to me was, does Lillian get tonsil stones? And I said, yeah, she does. And she goes, that's what it is. Because it shows up as a calcified little nodule, like, or a foreign body on the x-ray. Or a lot of times people will say like that might be like a tooth that they swallowed or something. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because I've actually posted pictures of her tonsil stones in the grocery room because they are huge. They're just so big, like bigger, like the size of a dime, even bigger, just huge. And so that there's nothing really you can do. You just have these big crypts, which are what the filter is, and things just get caught in them a certain way in some people. Sometimes they say that you could use a water pick and like pop them out if you want to, but I don't really know what to tell you to prevent getting them except getting your tonsils removed. Like, that's really the only cure for it, and I'm not sure that you want to go that route, especially as an adult, because I heard that it's more horrible to get that surgery done when you're a grown-up. But yeah, sorry, I don't have more information on that. But if you do have allergies and post-nasal drip, you might want to consider trying to fix that problem.
All right, what are your thoughts on mushroom soup burial like Luke Perry?
We've had these weird burial stories the past couple episodes. I did a celebrity death dissection on Luke Perry back in 2021, and at the end of it we talked a little bit about the mushroom suit that he was buried in. I guess apparently it's like a suit. Of course they're expensive, so you get mushrooms at the grocery store and they're $1 and then or $2, whatever they cost, and then you get this mushroom suit and it's $1,500. But I guess it's supposed to help with the decomposition when you decompose when you're buried, and as opposed to getting embalmed or something, because a lot of time there's like this big movement of green funerals right now. So they think that like if you get embalmed and then you get buried, when you're decomposing, you're kind of putting those chemicals into the earth, and this is more of just like returning your body back to the earth in a more natural way, and these mushrooms are supposed to help break down your body and aid in it. So if you want to do that, because I don't know if this is a cheaper alternative. Like, okay, your family has a little ceremony for you, and then you put this suit on because it's clearly way cheaper than a casket. And you just get buried in the ground. I don't know what the rules are with that and who would even do that, but it might actually be way cheaper than a traditional funeral, so I'm not sure. But I don't, like, for me personally, I don't care, because like that's up to my family, whatever they want to do when I die. But I'm not, if they wanted to do that, I'd be okay with it.
All right,
As long as you got me one that looked cute. Like,
I don't think there's like stylized options of them. What's it matter? You're dead.
because I like the last thought of me going into the ground, like I want you to like remember me like looking kind of cute.
Oh my god, there's this scene in Mad Men, like it's in like the finale of the show where the mom finds out she has like stage 4 lung cancer, but she's like in her 30s. It's really sad, but she writes a note to the daughter where she's like, "Please pick out my prettiest dress." I was crying so bad. It was just like such a bummer. Okay.
I'm gonna go pick out a dress when we're done recording.
Don't write me notes like that. I know what you want, so just don't worry about it. I don't need to read some note like that when after you die. All right. Would you guys make a family cookbook, like for public sale?
Yeah. Yes. This is the thing. Like, I could totally make a cookbook. I've actually made one. I have one at my house right now that's all sectioned off by cuisine. I even have like Ethiopian recipes I've used, which are delicious, by the way.
I don't think we're enough of like cooks in the sense of we're making these innovative meals to be selling a cookbook. I definitely think we could give it out as a gift, or once in a while post something in the grocery room or something that's like, here's one of our family recipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. It's been an awesome week. Please head over to Apple and leave us a 5-star written review. Or if you have a story for us, email it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See ya. Have a good weekend. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor, and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.